Now, the next step in the process is change. Well, I'd been in business for, I think, 12 years before he asked me the great existential question. What was the great existential question? Does anybody ever really change? Do they ever really get better? I have an undergraduate degree in math, an MBA, a PhD in organizational behavior, and I don't like to make up numbers. So I thought about this good question. I said, you know, that's a great question. I have no research to prove it, so I guess my answer is I do not know. Thank you for asking the question. I do not know. For about the last 40 years or so, I've been answering that question. Now I do know. I know who changes, who doesn't change, why people change, why people don't change. And the key to making change last could be summarized in one term. You have to follow up and stick with it. What does follow up sound like? You know, Mr. or Ms. Coworker, I said I wanted to be a positive and open-minded listener about 2 months ago. It's been 2 months. Based on the last 2 months, give me ideas to help me do even better the next 2. Mr. or Ms. Coworker, 4 months ago I said I wanted to be a more positive and open-minded listener. Based on the last 2 months, give me ideas for the next 2 months. Mr. or Ms. Coworker, 6 months ago I said I wanted to be a more positive and open-minded listener. Based on the last 2 months, give me some ideas for the next 2. 8 months, 10 months, 12 months. What happens if you follow this very simple process? And what happens when you follow up on a regular basis? I'm going to answer this not from a theory perspective, but from a research perspective. Our article about this is called Leadership is a Contact Sport. Leadership is a contact sport. This article involves input from 86,000 people from around the world, and we have replicated this research around the world now with about 248,000 people. There is no country this does not work. There is no level of management this does not work, from the first line supervisor to the CEO, and there's no industry this doesn't work. This stuff pretty much always works. Leadership is a contact sport. Well, in our research, every leader got multi-rater feedback. That feedback was confidential. Either, in my case as a coach, I interview everyone, or in the case of 360-degree inventories that we develop, they get this written feedback with numbers from the computer. They all get feedback. Well, what did I learn from this research? Well, to quote my friend Alan Mulally, if you get better, it doesn't have a lot to do with me. It's got a lot to do with you. Everything I just taught you on this video works. It doesn't kind of work or sort of work or only work in this situation or that situation. It pretty much always works. Shockingly, it doesn't work if you don't do it. As I mentioned earlier, I had the privilege of doing a program recently in Russia with 50,000 people in St. Petersburg. One of the first speakers was Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold had a quote that reminds me of this. He said, "Nobody got muscles by watching me lift the weights." Well, the key here is not understanding the theory of weightlifting. It's lifting the weights. Now, let me summarize. I've just shared with you a proven process that you can use at work and at home. You can use it to become a more effective parent, pretty much any kind of personal relationship. This process is the essence of my stakeholder-centered coaching. The process pretty much always works. As we said, it takes a lot of courage to get that feedback. It takes courage to look in the mirror. It takes humility to apologize, to admit that you've made mistakes. And it takes discipline to do the day-to-day follow-up required to get better. Now, one thing I'm so proud of in my book Triggers is 27 major CEOs endorsed that book. Why am I so proud? 30 years ago, 40 years ago, when I started this business, no CEO would admit to having a coach. They would have been ashamed to have a coach, embarrassed to have a coach. Today, these are some of the most important people in the world, and they all stand up and say, look, I can do better. I can get feedback. I can learn from everyone around me. I'm going to improve, I'm going to follow up, and I'm going to become a more effective leader. Not, look at me, aren't I great? So, in summary, a fantastic process to help yourself as a leader, to help yourself as a peer, to help yourself as a parent, a son, a daughter, a husband or wife, or a friend. I hope this is something you can use to get better at whatever you need to get better at.